What is going on, guys? Joel here, and today we'll be taking a look at the new iPhone 14 Pro Max and doing a quick little unboxing and give my thoughts after using it for about a little bit over 24 hours. Now, quickly unboxing this, just like the previous couple of years, there's not much to unbox. Open up the box, you get your new iPhone, and this year I opted for the new deep purple color option, which I was up in the air about, either this or the space black, but I went for this one, and so far, not regretting it. But we'll take a look at that shortly. Aside from the phone, you get some literature telling us this device no longer comes with a SIM card slot because it'll be activated using eSIM, which is going to be the first time we ever see this on a device. This is only for the models sold here in the US that will no longer come with a SIM card tray, but aside from this, you get an Apple sticker and a Lightning to USB-C cable, no wall adapter, so you have to provide your own USB-C wall adapter if you want to use the cable that is provided in this box. Now, looking at the iPhone 14 Pro Max, this is the new deep purple, which in some light you can tell it is purple, but in other light it looks more of a darker color, almost black. But here in the video you may think it's a different color. I don't know what the color is going to look like, but so far I'm liking this color option. Out of all the four colors, which do you like better this year? Deep purple, the new space black, gold, or silver? Now, when first setting up the iPhone 14, if you aren't already using eSIM, you'll need to convert your physical SIM to an eSIM, and surprisingly it was pretty simple to do. Though I did get an error when first trying it out. It probably was because of the servers being impacted on my carrier since it was launch day, but trying it again for the second time, it transferred my number to the eSIM on my new iPhone 14 Pro Max. Now, exterior wise, there's not much that has changed from the previous year. Everything looks pretty identical, even the huge camera bump, but I did notice the cameras stick out just a little bit more than previous. So if you thought the cameras were big on the 13 Pro Max, yeah, these cameras are even larger. But aside from the rear cameras, the first thing that you'll notice when looking at the screen and turning it on is going to be the new camera cutout on the top that replaces the notch from before, which is now known as the dynamic island. Here's where the true depth camera system sits at, that is actually now 31% smaller, and also the re-engineered proximity sensors, which now detects light from under the display, but they unified that and made it look like it's all one. But in some angles you could see the camera and the sensors being separate, but it looks like what people are calling a pill cutout. But this pill cutout is known as the dynamic island, and at the Apple event, whenever they showed it off, it looked very interesting, and trying it out for myself for the first time on this device, as much as referring it to the dynamic island may just sound strange, I have been enjoying it so far. But even though it is a very small change, it does give a new experience while using it with different apps. So when I am listening to music, for example, or have audio playing in the background, with a simple swipe to go back to the home screen, it'll bubble up to that dynamic island, and you can still see what's playing by just glancing up to the top, and it'll show the album artwork. And it is interactive by either pressing it to open up the app, or you can press and hold and it'll give you the audio controls. So from anywhere you are on your device, whether it be in an app, you can always control the audio just by pressing and holding on the dynamic island. Now, it'll even work with two apps. So for example, if you start a timer, it'll have both the album artwork on top and an icon for the timer that you can also interact with by pressing and holding. And it's very Apple-like to do this type of thing. And even though it's, like I said, a small change, I think it was kind of genius to make a camera punch out and its built-in sensors next to it to just look like a big cutout and unify them by filling in the space between them with black interactive pixels. Now, this also works with other alerts throughout your device. So when receiving a call, connecting your AirPods, battery life, directions for maps, unlocking your device, Face ID, and I noticed it also displayed an arrow when getting your actual GPS location when in an app, and also it shows up an icon for your hotspot if you're connected to it. So it works across the whole system, but I am looking forward to developers taking advantage of this. Apple showed off of how you can keep track of sports scores or the status of a Lyft ride using the dynamic island. So I'm looking forward to that when those apps are updated. But what do you think about the whole dynamic island? Are you a fan or a fan of the name? Let me know in the comments below. Now the displays on the Pro series didn't get a size change. You still have the same size screen of a 6.7 inch on this 14 Pro Max. It also still has a Super Retina XDR OLED display with an adaptive refresh rate of up to 120 Hz, aka ProMotion. But one new change with the display is that it now gets 2 times brighter when outdoors. So it can go up to 2000 nits of brightness, which is a welcome change from the 13 Pro Max. But one of the biggest changes that you'll notice on the screen is the new always on display. With this feature enabled, you'll be able to still see your lock screen at a glance. So if you have pending notifications, or you want to see your widgets with the new iOS lock screens, or you just want to know the time, you'll be able to see all of that without having to turn on your device. Now with my day worth of trying out the 14 Pro Max, I haven't been able to really test out if this always on display reduces battery life by much, but it is something I'll be trying out with it turned on and with it turned off, and see if it impacts the battery life within the next couple of days. But speaking about battery, inside the iPhone 14 Pro Max, it did get the new updated A16 Bionic chip, which with comparing the 13 Pro Max that had the A15 Bionic chip, the battery life got 1 hour of extra video playback time compared to the 13 Pro Max. But the battery life on the 13 Pro Max was already great, so that extra hour is even better. But not much was said about the power of this chip, at least in comparison between the previous A15 on the 13 Pro series to now the 14 Pro Max with the A16. Apple just said it has a faster 6-core CPU and 50% more memory bandwidth and power efficient performance. So, I mean, the 13 Pro Max could already handle intensive apps and games, so this one just got a tad better. So I don't see performance being an issue. Now what did get improved in this year's 14 Pro series is the new Pro camera system. So if you are getting any of the 14 Pros, including this 14 Pro Max, you more than likely utilize the cameras, and this year we got a jump up in the Pro camera system with 48 megapixels on the main wide angle camera. This is going to be a 65% larger sensor than the previous iPhone 13 Pro series. So now the main camera is able to gather up to 4 times more light and produce better photos than the old 12 megapixel sensor. You can even take advantage in shooting Pro RAW at 48 megapixels of a resolution. So overall, this new quad pixel sensor will be able to capture more detail when shooting with its rear Pro camera system. And I was able to do some quick shots using all 3 cameras, like the 12 megapixel ultra wide camera, this new 48 megapixel main camera, and the 12 megapixel telephoto camera. I want to dig a bit deeper with this and give more of a comparison between the 13 Pro Max and the 14 Pro Max and see how much it compares. So let me know if you want to see that as a separate video. Also, I forgot to add, there is now a 2-time optical quality telephoto to its zoom range. So now with the new Pro camera system, you can either go from 0.5 zoom, 1-time zoom, 2-time zoom, and 3-time zoom. This also works for portrait mode, time-lapse video, and pano shots. But overall, this new Pro camera system has gotten up to 3 times better low light performance when it comes to the photos on the ultra wide camera, up to 2 times better low light photos on the main camera, and up to 2 times better low light photos on the telephoto camera. So better low light performance is always good news, especially of course in low light conditions. You also notice the new adaptive True Tone flash, and this will help to give the best light on the subject thanks to its new pattern and intensity of the 9 LEDs on the flash. Now if you have ever used last year's cinematic mode, which I don't think I have once honestly, it now adds 4K at 24 frames per second, so you can shoot at both 24 or 30 frames per second when using cinematic mode. Also for video, you get a new action mode that will give you a more stabilized shot when shooting video, similar to when using a gimbal. Now there's also a new feature called crash detection, which is featured in all iPhone 14s, not just the Pro Max, but this feature can detect a severe car crash, then call 911 and notify your emergency contacts. So this is something I hope to not ever need to use, but it's a nice added feature to have, and it'll do all these things on its own in case something does happen. And this whole crash detection is all thanks to the new gyroscope and high G-force accelerometer that can sense extreme accelerations or decelerations up to 256 Gs. But again, I hope to never have to use this. Now, also another feature is emergency SOS, another feature that I hope not to use as well, but you are able to now do emergency SOS via satellite. This feature is able to text emergency services over satellite in the case you don't have cell service or Wi-Fi. So how this works is if you have no signal at all, you'll have this interface that will guide you in which direction the satellite is, and once it makes a connection, you can text emergency services. Again, I hope not to need to use this, but in the case of the emergency, with the iPhone 14s, you can do it. Now, this is a feature that will more likely have some paid subscription type of thing coming in the future, but Apple is giving this for free for the first 2 years when you purchase an iPhone 14. But this is also something that's set to release later in the year, sometime in November. But so far, my thoughts with the new iPhone 14 Pro Max after using it a little bit over 24 hours is that I'm enjoying the dynamic island and look forward to seeing more apps take advantage of this. The always on display is cool, but I always feel like my device is still on, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing because I don't know how it's affecting my battery life. Definitely want more apps to use the widgets feature for the lock screen in iOS 16 so I can feel like I'm utilizing the always on display a little bit more. Otherwise, I may turn this feature off. Now, the Pro Max still feels like a powerful device even though the A16 Bionic chip isn't a huge upgrade, but that new 48 megapixel main camera is a nice upgrade, and I want to give that more of a shot in comparison to see how images really compare, especially to the previous 13 Pro Max. Now, having only eSIM support, I could see this maybe being a problem for those who travel a lot and may not have a carrier that supports usage when traveling either for minimal cost or free usage. But these are just my thoughts so far after getting my hands on and using the iPhone 14 Pro Max for a little bit over a day. Now, if you picked one up yourself, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. But other than that, that's going to wrap it up for this video. As always, if you did enjoy it, let me know by hitting that like button below, as it not only lets me know that you liked it, but it also shows support to the channel. If you're missing any of my content, be sure to follow me on other social media platforms as I have been posting on those, like on Instagram, TikTok, and things like that. I'll leave those linked down below in the description. And also, if you feel like being awesome, be sure to hit that subscribe button and tap on that notification bell. That way you're always notified when I drop my next video. Other than that, thanks a lot for watching. I appreciate all your support, and I'll catch you all on the next one. All right, peace.